Good morning. My name is Eric Kessler with the Michigan Center for Truck Safety. We are funded by a grant from the Michigan Truck Safety Fund. Today, we're going to talk about spring weight restrictions and how to figure out what your vehicle can carry. All right. When spring weight restrictions go into effect, you need to put your truck on a diet because you got to lose some weight when you go onto those weight restricted roads. So let's talk a little bit about what weight restrictions are and why we have them. The frost laws come into effect this time of year when the snow starts to melt and the frost starts coming out of the ground. Michigan puts weight restrictions on some of the roads to try to protect them from breaking up. Why do they do that? Well, water below the surface of the roadbed freezes and thaws. When this happens, the roadbed becomes fragile. As the vehicles travel across it, the road surface flexes more than normal, causing cracks and potholes. Water is squeezing out from under the road surface. As we drive on it, the roadbed can be damaged. So in order to protect the road surface, the state and counties reduce the speed of vehicles over 10,000 pounds to 35 miles per hour. And reduces the amount of weight a vehicle can carry on those roads that are fragile. The faster you go, the more damage that you can cause on a weight-restricted road. This applies to all vehicles, so please slow down. Weight restrictions can go into effect on any time from as early as February and stay on until late May, when the frost has melted from the ground. Michigan is an axle weight state, so the weight laws are enforced based on how much each axle weighs, not on the total amount you can carry. Let's talk weights. So under Michigan basic weight law, a single axle that has 9 feet or over between this axle and any other axle, the normal weight that you would get on that axle is 18,000 pounds. Now, on a weight restricted road, there's two types. There's a rigid and there's a flexible, okay? On a rigid road, it's going to be reduced by 25%. On a flexible road, it's going to be reduced by 35%. The majority of the roads, when weight restrictions are applied, are required to weigh on the flexible or 35% reduction in weight, okay? So an 18,000 pound axle is allowed 11,700 pounds. So when you look at how much that axle can carry, it's going to be 11,700 pounds on a weight restricted road. Okay. When it's 3.5 feet and less than 9 feet between the axles, okay, the normal weight for those axles are 13,000 pounds. During spring wake up on a rigid road, it's going to be 9,750 pounds. Now, rigid roads are the dotted red lines on the truck operator's map, and a flexible road is the solid red line. Okay, so flexible roads are going to get the 35% or 8,450 pounds. The tandem axle assembly, or if it's part of a tandem axle assembly, the normal weight on that axle is going to be 16,000 pounds under the basic weight law. And then on a rigid road, you're going to be allowed knocked down to 12,000 pounds. And on a flexible road, it's 10,400 pounds. Okay, that's one axle on a tandem axle assembly. When you have less than 3.5 feet between the axles, that axle is going to get 9,000 pounds normally. And with the weight reduced on a weight restricted road, you're going to get 6,750 pounds on a rigid road, 5,850 pounds on a flexible road. And then we have to look at the maximum load on a wheel. So like on a steer axle or something like that, okay? You're going to get, normally you get 700 pounds per inch of tire width. Okay, on a restricted road, it's going to be down to 525 pounds on a rigid road or 450 pounds per inch of tire width on a flexible road. The bridge formula does not apply during spring rate restrictions on a restricted road. So what that means, on a 5-axle tandem, you'd be allowed 16,000 and 16,000 per axle on both sets of tandems. And would be reduced to 35% on a weight restricted road. So instead of your tandem axles being 16 and 16, 16 and 16 on the 2 sets of tandems, you're going to be 10-4, 10-4. All other combinations with two tandem axle assemblies would be allowed 1 tandem at 16,000 pounds, and the second tandem would be allowed 13,000 pounds per axle. The truck operators map. Michigan has all season routes where the weight restrictions do not apply, and those would be green routes, yellow routes, and black routes. The red routes are the weight restricted state routes. So you would have to look on the Michigan's MDOT's truck operator map to see those. Check with each county road commission for their list of weight restricted roads. Most would be restricted with the 35% reduction in weights. So on most county roads, they're going to be reduced by 35%. And they just do that for all their roads. There might be some that have a rigid and flexible, but that's up to each individual county and how the road is constructed. How to tell if a road is rate restricted? Well, you can look at the truck operator's map and see which state roads are weight restricted, or most routes are signed with a sign that says speed and weight restrictions enforced, or roads closed to trucks. In this case, all trucks over 10,000 pounds would be affected. So when it says all trucks over 10,000 pounds, that would be affected if the road is closed to trucks. So pay attention to the roads as you enter them off of a major highway. That's where they put the signs up. Speed restrictions during spring weight restrictions is 35 miles per hour and applies to all trucks over 10,000 pounds. Okay. So if you're on a weight restricted road, your speed is reduced to 35 miles an hour. It's not going to say that on the sign. It's just implied that that's what the weights are or the speed are when you're on a weight restricted road. So please slow down. Let's look at what some of these look like for a spring breakup. Now the tires that we're using on here is going to be an 1100 size tire. Okay, at 1100 tire at 700 pounds per tire width, you're allowed 15,400 pounds. Okay, during frost laws, you're only going to be allowed 10,000 pounds on that steer axle. On the back axle, you're allowed 18,000 pounds. And during frost law restrictions, you're going to be allowed 11,700 pounds per inch tire width, or 11,700 pounds on that axle. Okay, so that's how that looks like. Let's look like a tandem axle assembly. You'd be allowed 16 and 16. You're reduced down to 10-4 and 10,400 pounds. Okay, your steer axle, 1100 tire, is going to be allowed 15-4, which reduce you down to 10,000 pounds on that front axle. And if we looked at a triaxle truck, this is the other type of group that you would be looking at. Okay, so your steer axle again is limited by the tire size. 700 pounds per inch and 1100 tire is 15-4. During spring frost laws, you're down to 10,000 pounds. Okay, and then on the group, you'd normally get 13, 13, 13. So those are going to be reduced down to 8,450 8,450, 8,450. Okay, so that's what it looks like on your actual truck. Exemptions. Now, what kind of law would it be without an exemption or two? Wreckers can apply for a speed permit, a special permit, in order to haul off of a weight restricted road. Okay, and that permit is good for size and weight. If you have an agricultural commodity, you need to give 48 hours notice to the County Road Commission, and they'll issue a permit on which routes you're allowed to take. Emergency public workers, prior to notification to a county road, if you have to take your vehicles onto these county roads and you're overweight on the weight for the weight restrictions that are there, you can give them prior notification that you have to go out and do some kind of utility work on those county roads, and they will give you the permission or a permit to do that. Public school buses are exempt from weight restrictions. Okay, and the speed limit. Propane delivery to a residence. Okay, so propane haulers gets an exemption. If their tank is at 50% and they drive 35 miles an hour, they can operate on a weight restricted road without a permit. Okay, as long as their tank is showing 50% or less. All right, so that's the end of our presentation today. Let me pull this up one more time. We're the Michigan Center for Truck Safety. We provide free education and training for the Michigan transportation industry and the general safety information to the motoring public. We're funded by a grant from the Michigan Truck Safety Fund. Again, my name is Eric Kestel. I'm a safety specialist. We have offices in Escanaba and down in Lansing, Michigan. Okay. If you want more information, we have our truck driver's guidebook. In here, we have a section on weights. Okay, and it talks about Frost Law, Bridge Formula, Michigan Basic Weight Law, and it got nice pictures of a variety of different trucks, so that if you find your truck and which one you drive, you can find out how much you're allowed to carry on which axles and how much you're allowed to carry during Frost Law. They're both listed on there. Okay, these are available for free. You can stop at one of our offices, or you can give us a call or email us and we'll send you out a few. Okay, so if you need a truck driver's guidebook, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to send that out to you. Thank you for watching today. I hope this helps you understand the Michigan spring weight laws. Have a good day.